G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and I'm sitting here on a lovely Friday afternoon from work. Just finished work. Got a beer in hand, feeling pretty happy. And then Forge World drops a new Horus Heresy tank, and I'm like, day's getting pretty good. And then I see it, and I'm like, the fuck is this? At first I thought, this is a Sikaran hull. This is like another version of the Venator we've got here. Oh, that's great. I've been asking for more variants of the Venator for years. Hang on a minute. How big's that ladder on the side? Are those hunter-killer missile? How small is this thing? And then I realised, this thing's fucking tiny. This thing's the height of a Terminator. This is the smallest vehicle since the Orc Buggy. This thing makes the Goliath tank killer, the little demolition drone thing. Not Goliath, the Cyclops, sorry. The Goliath was the real-life version made by the Wehrmacht in World War II. Yeah, this thing's fucking... I've never seen something in 40k or 30k, apart from maybe the Snotling tank, that makes the Renault FT look big. And this is a World War I era vehicle with 7 mils or so of armour, maybe 13 in some thick places, and single machine gun for its main weapon. I think a 30mm gun, something like that, 37mm. Tiny, anyway. Yeah, I look at this thing and I'm like, holy fuck, is this tiny? Obviously, Space Marine vehicles have never been the greatest for fitting the crew inside, but I mean, look at how big a Hetzer had to be to fit a 4-man crew. Look at how big the Scorpion has to be for a couple of men. And the Scorpion is mostly engine in that front half. Engine and transmission. Yeah, this thing's fucking insane. Does that mean I hate it? No, I don't hate it. I think it looks right. If I had to pick a feature that I dislike, those hunter-killers on the sides just look so slapped on. And not in a good way. I think you could have made a really great, almost integral missile pod that straps onto the side of this, or something that looks like a really nice tow missile attached on top. But this looks like someone just literally welded a couple of, RPG 7s or something, or AT4s just to the side of the hull. And plus the crew's got to climb up past them every time they get in and out of the tank. Well, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that as a design feature. I think a more stylish integrated pod, or something else could have looked better. Weapons-wise, has an interesting array of weapons. We'll look at the actual stats on them in a tick. But yeah, this thing is fucking tiny. It's shorter than a Rhino in height. Length, pretty close to a Rhino in width, from the looks of things. Again, I'm holding it in my hand, I can't perfectly tell you. But yeah, this thing's fucking tiny. I'm guessing the only way for that driver to get out is for the commander to hop out the hatch behind him. And I imagine they're very comfortable in that ride, because the crew compartment, as best I can tell, you'll see there's the raised black panel which the ladders are attached to on the side of the tank. Not the panel with the checkers in it, but the one that goes around that panel. It's a big panel. That would basically be the size of your crew compartment, that panel. And it wouldn't go all the way down to the bottom of the wheels either, because of the suspension and such, so probably the bottom rung of that ladder. So you've got 2 fully armed Space Marines in that space. Yikes. Now, I won't say anything about, how much space is the engine taking up and that kind of thing, because, it's space magic, and dare I criticize something for applying the rules of physics? Yes, things are said in the sci-fi universe. Just like on the video the other day, you can't just disclaimer everything by saying, space magic makes it work. It's like, no. Space magic does not just make things work. If the universe says these are ordinary everyday humans, then they're ordinary everyday humans, as an instance. You can't just say, oh, well, they're superior to everyday humans of today. It's like, no, that's not what they've said. It's not what they've shown you. Same thing here. You can't just say, oh, well, you know, it's space magic, the engine doesn't need to be big, it doesn't need fuel. Like, at least with the Rhino, you can imagine them putting the engines in the sides of the hull, which is why it's got the exhaust there and that kind of thing. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's probably some sort of diesel-electric drive system going on. This thing, though, clearly has its exhaust at the back, so the engine power plant has to be somewhere in the rear half of this vehicle. And it would have to be on the left-hand side, because clearly the right-hand side is devoted entirely to these weapon packs. Fair enough. As I said, I don't think it's an ugly vehicle. I think it's probably a little bit too small, is all I'm getting at. And I'm nitpicking here, I freely admit that, but I'm giving you my thoughts on it, and that's something I think of. I think, this looks too small. Just seems a bit weird, and especially given the stats of it, which we'll come to later. Nice to see that they've gone with Dark Angel's iconography, I guess. Yeah, this thing is so fucking small. A Contempted Dreadnought. It's waist high, if that, on a Contempted Dreadnought. Holy shit. It's fucking tiny. The funniest part, of course, is the price. 200 Australian dollars for something smaller than a Rhino with 3 weapon options. And a couple of 3 weapon pintle options as well. Sorry, that's ludicrously overpriced. Alright, let's get serious here. Let's actually critique this thing fairly. 65 points a model. It's the stats of a Rhino, but with an extra point of armor on the front for some reason. This thing has more hull points than a Javelin or a Kizargan land speeder, despite being the same size. It's smaller than a Rhino, still has more hull points, and it's got superior armor. I'd say pay to win, but clearly the vehicle is not when I look at the war gear. So, 65 points armed with what it is not bad. It's armed with the hull-mounted Anvil Snub Autocannon, the hull-mounted Heavy Bolter, Smoke Launcher, Searchlight, Auxiliary Drive, and has the Missile Lock special rule. Well, let's see, what have we got here? We have... Let's look at the actual stats of the weapons, because I don't see Missile Lock anywhere. Maybe it's a special rule from in the core rulebook I don't know about? I don't ever remember Missile Lock being a rule. But it's in here. Apparently that's a thing. So the Snub Autocannon is range 24 inches, strength 8 AP4, heavy 2 Twinglington Sunder. So it's a strength 8 Reaper with only 2/3 of the range, but it gains the Sunder, so basically rerolling armor penetration. But it's only AP4. See, this is problematic. If it was AP3, this would be really good, because that's basically shooting crack missiles, and that can gun down Marines and stuff. That's pretty good. If it was AP2, it would be God tier, because multiple shots on a cheap vehicle. You actually get a good chance at blowing up vehicles. Okay, that's pretty good. But Strength 8 is a really weird thing in the Heresy. So yeah, you can instant kill Marines, but say Solar Auxiliar, Imperial Militia, that kind of thing. Well, you only need Strength 6. Strength 8's overkill. If you're fighting Mechanicum, Strength 8's not enough. You need Strength 10 to get through a lot of their stuff to get instant kill, because most Mechanicum units are toughness 5. So, not having the AP to instantly kill a vehicle sucks, and you won't even boost what you roll on the vehicle damage table, even though you have good chances of getting a penetrating hit against, well, light vehicles, of course, like Predators and Rhinos and stuff. I can't really recommend that. It's only 24 inches range. Granted, the vehicle is fast, you know, it's going to move 12 inches and still fire that weapon, but it doesn't sell me. Especially with only heavy 2. It's not really enough shots to take full advantage of it. Right, the Neutron Blaster. This is a 20-point upgrade for the vehicle. And you basically get a las cannon with the concussive and shock pulse rules. Concussive is a vehicle that's penetrated by it counts as crew shaken, maybe even crew stunned. I have to double check that. And the shock pulse means you can only snap fire in the next turn with your main guns, I believe. It's not a rule that comes up very often, but it's on the Neutron Laser, on the Cerberus Super Heavy Tank Destroyer, and the Sicaran Venator. For a 20-point upgrade, that's very lackluster. Consider the Multi-Melter is a standard upgrade in a lot of vehicles, has the same range, but will have Armor Bane. So if you can get within 12 inches, you're going to be getting that delicious 2d6 penetrating damage, which you really need in the Heresy. Strength on AP2 is good, but with only a single shot, you'd be better served by just a stock las cannon, which is going to have double the range. You could buy 2 of these vehicles armed with these Neutron Blasters for basically the same points as buying a Contemptor or a Box Dreadnought with 2 twin-linked las cannons, and that is going to be a far more deadly vehicle than this. Alright, it also has a Volkite weapon, which is very cheap at 15 points. Well, it's not cheap enough. Range 24, Strength 6, AP 5, Heavy 6, Defler grade. Good at killing militia, but you do have to get within 24 inches to use it. I would rather have a standard Volkite Culverin, because the Volkite Culverin has really good range, 42 inches off the top of my head, with the same stat line, but only 4 shots, not 6. I'd rather that. And in fact, the vehicle can take one for 15 points on its pintle. I would rather have 2 Volkite Culverins on this thing, one on the main gun and one on the pintle, because that's just going to be better firepower. Instead, this thing has longer ranged weapons on its pintle than on its main guns. None of its main guns are over 24 inches in range, in fact, and the weapons that it can take on the pintle are a Heavy Flamer, a Multi-Melter, which equals them for range, and a Volkite Culverin, and a Heavy Bolter, both of which outrange its main guns. That's stupid. Why did the main gun of its tank getting outranged by the fucking secondary armament? I mean, that would make a lot of sense if it was something like a Demolisher Cannon, just a ridiculously devastating main gun that makes up for its power with short range. But this, I'm not seeing it. It can also take a combi weapon on the pintle, a twin-linked bolter, or a Havoc missile launcher. And it may take Armored Ceramite for 20 points. 5 points on this vehicle. Come on. That's a third of the cost of the vehicle to give it immune to Melter when it's armor 10 on the rear, 11 on the side. Like, fuck me. I can roll a 3 at a glance on the side armor with a Melter gun pretty easily. I don't think I need the 2d6 pen. I can crack grenade this thing to fucking death in close combat. This is not a Land Raider. This is not something that needs Armored Ceramite. Extra armor. It's got 3 hull points. If it gets shaken or stunned, yeah, sure, you can move. This can't jink. Even if it is a tank, it can't jink. Doesn't matter if it's fast. And can take 4 Sabre missiles for 5 points each. These Sabre missiles are range 36. They're shorter than a crack missile in range. They're strength 6. They're AP 4. Heavy 1. 1 use only, and rending. It's pretty underwhelming. It's like a single assault cannon shot. Basically, yeah, single assault cannon shot. So, I guess 4 of these, you get a one-time use assault cannon, basically, out of having these 4 Sabre missiles, and it will cost you 20 points. Not appealing to me, although I do like the description. It's a re-engineered missile with a lower launch velocity, but more advanced shaped warhead to compensate. This was written by someone who doesn't understand how missiles work. Missiles do not destroy using velocity. Obviously, a supersonic missile will have some penetrative capability because of the sheer speed it's going, but most missiles that fire shaped warheads It's the shaped warhead that does the fucking damage. I know you're trying to be cool, Forge World. Do some research on missiles. If anything, a low launch velocity is perfectly fine for something like this. This is basically an RPG. That's all this is, an RPG. In which case, the Marines standard missile is also basically an RPG, so it's a bit of a... it's a shaped charged warhead. The idea is that it explodes, melts some copper, penetrates the hull, etc. Yeah. It just stuck out to me because it was really silly. So, this tank is absurd. It's not good. And the reason it's not good is because it doesn't fill any niche that wasn't filled already. For the same points, I could get a land speeder javelin, which, okay, will only be front armor 11, and only has 2 hull points, but I can take 3 in a squadron, and it comes with a twin-linked Cyclone missile launcher, and I can upgrade to a melter gun, a graviton gun, I think a heavy flamer are all options, and it comes with the heavy bolter on the sponsored automatically. That's better. Or for, I think it's 20 points, I could upgrade it to the 2 las cannons, which is not a great upgrade in my opinion, but it's better than the single-shot Neutron Blaster on this thing. And it can still take a multi-melter weapon. If you took one of these at 65 points, and you actually went and gave it the 4 Sabre missiles, the extra armor, the armored ceramite, a Havoc launcher, a multi-melter, and the Neutron Blaster options, this vehicle would come in at 170 points. And that's the cost of a Sikaram battle tank. Or a Contemptor Dreadnought. What am I getting at here? Why did Forge World go out of their way to make a vehicle with no purpose, which does look cool, admittedly does look cool, but costs a lot of money, it doesn't fill any niche within the army, has some very questionable stats and firepower, is very, very tiny, is worse at the job I would give it than a Javelin land speeder. I mean, don't even start to compare this thing to a Kizargan land speeder, which for 30 points more than one of these with a heavy bolter and a neutron gimmick gun, for only 30 points more comes with 2 Reaper autocannons, an assault cannon, and can take the 2 hunter killer missiles. And is basically the same stats, but also a fucking jinking, flying fucking speeder that can be taken in squadrons of 3. Yikes. The fuck purpose is this tank supposed to fulfill? If it had something like a graviton cannon in that front nose, or the Volkite had 8 shots, or the autocannon had 4 shots, something like that, where I'm like, oh, this thing has a pretty decent firepower, it's a bit of a glass cannon, this would be worth taking. But basically, you've just given me a rapier in the form of an Armor 12 vehicle with some maneuverability, but again, it's nothing on a speeder. I don't know what niche this is required to fulfill. And I did a video the other day talking about when you build a list, you want to find things that complement one another and fulfill special roles within your force. And this doesn't do that. And it's a lot of money at 200 Australian dollars. But right now, this is poo. And also, why is this Armor 12 when a fucking Rhino, which is a bigger tank, which has got to protect valuable troops, is only Armor 11? Anyway, back with the outer circle, let me know what you think of the Legion Sabre Strike Tank. A handsome tank, no denying, handsome vehicle, maybe a touch too small, but too many points for too little reward. And I don't even think you could drop the points to make it worthwhile. I don't think that's the solution here. I think you would just have to make the weaponry better and war gear better. And also relight that last line about maybe having a shrapnel warhead instead of, or a semi high explosive squash head round, something like that. An advanced shaped warhead. No, it would be a higher armor pen if it was. Yeah. Back with the outer circle. See you all next time.